2012!
2012!
We have come together!
We have come together!
To demand public transportation!
To demand public transportation!
For the 99%!
For the 99%!
The economy has been destroyed!
The economy has been destroyed!
By Wall Street greed!
By Wall Street greed!
And endless wars!
And endless wars!
At the time when it is needed the most!
At the time when it is needed the most!
Public transit is under attack!
Public transit is under attack!
Facing cuts in services!
Facing cuts in services!
Fare hikes!
Fare hikes!
And worker layoffs!
And worker layoffs!
Americans are struggling!
Americans are struggling!
Oil prices continue to rise!
Oil prices continue to rise!
Our environment is being degraded!
Our environment is being degraded!
And climate change wreaks havoc!
And climate change wreaks havoc!
In this jobless recovery, unemployment remains high!
Unemployment remains high!
Especially among communities!
Especially among communities!
Of color and the youth!
Of color and the youth!
Ridership is reaching record highs!
Ridership is reaching record highs!
And all over the nation!
And all over the nation!
Our public infrastructure!
Our public infrastructure!
Is being undermined!
Is being undermined!
There are millions to pay!
There are millions to pay!
To Wall Street banks!
To Wall Street banks!
For interest rate swaps!
For interest rate swaps!
When interests are rigged!
When
interests are rigged!
By bankers and their servants!
By bankers and their servants!
In the capital!
In the capital!
There is money for wars!
There is money for wars!
Of empire and occupation!
Of empire and occupation!
In Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya!
In Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya!
And to prop up!
And to prop up!
Military dictatorships!
Military dictatorships!
In Egypt and around the world!
In Egypt and around the world!
Martin Luther King Jr. said it!
Martin Luther King Jr. said it!
45 years ago today!
45 years ago today!
That war is an enemy of the poor!
That war is an enemy of the poor!
And it should be attacked as such!
And it should be attacked as such!
Across the nation we have been told!
Across the nation we have been told!
There is no money for transit!
There is no money for transit!
The banks and the bloated Pentagon budget!
The banks and the bloated Pentagon budget!
Should be the first cut!
Should be the first cut!
Not the most vulnerable!
Not the most vulnerable!
Today we have come together!
Today we have come together!
From Boston!
From Boston!
To Chicago!
To Chicago!
To Portland!
To Portland!
To Seattle!
To Seattle!
To Oakland!
To Oakland!
To San Francisco!
To San Francisco!
To Orlando!
To Orlando!
To Denver!
To Denver!
Albany!
Albany!
Buffalo!
Buffalo!
Pittsburgh!
Pittsburgh!
And Detroit!
And Detroit!
To say no more excuses!
To say no more excuses!
Public transportation is a right!
Public transportation is a right!
Fund it or further prove
Fund it or further prove
you are not on the side of the people!
you are not on the side of the people!
Thank you!
Thank you, everybody!